Hey everyone, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Model Shop. Hope you're all doing well and staying safe and healthy out there. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and get to work on the main bridge for the ship. I go ahead and get the whole thing assembled using the Pontos detail set. We do a little scratch building on the inside to add just some extra details, give it a little bit of extra panache or whatever to make it look cool. And then, yeah, we get the whole thing put together. I don't go into a lot of detail on the photo etch assembly, unlike the gun director this time, because if you go back to video 13, I pretty much cover all that back then. But feel free to ask any questions you have down below. I'll go ahead and answer those. Yeah, and then we get the whole thing together and take a good look at the whole ship. So anyway, hope you enjoy this, and yeah, let's get started on the bridge. Well, a person smarter than me said, yeah, I do the bridge next so that everything fits together like it's supposed to. Here are our two main pieces. You guys should recognize the red dots are already filled in. A couple of spaces with putty there, but these two pieces go together like so, and then we end up with a ton, and I do mean a ton of big photo etch plating and everything that goes in place. Now, in the middle here is where the actual, I guess, bridge is, and this is being called the navigation bridge, or CIC. You Navy fellers can correct me, but I am interested in putting detail in there. You may, when we're done, be able to get a glimpse of it along here, and you may, when you peek up here, be able to see that ceiling right there. So I would like to put some gobbledygook in here, some wires and boxes, and to simulate the speakers that I saw on photographs. And then down here should be a chair here, a compass and a table, and maybe a couple little things. So maybe we can get a few pieces of styrene in there just to mimic those looks. Then we have to address photo etch. So this is what Pontos has you do for the navigation bridge, kind of this whole area. And order of operations is important. Right here you can see these pieces 43 and 471. They're little steps that would be added in after the fact, so we got to worry about how we paint all of this stuff. I'll probably glue the photo etch down, install my extra detail that I want, then mask, paint the floor, then mask the floor, and then paint everything up above it. That's probably what will happen. I'll also probably hold off on this photo etch section until I've glued the two pieces together. And then you have all this extra detail put on, because you have to put this on, drop it in place, and then you've got the tower right there, and there's a whole bunch of detail with that. Then we start getting into a lot of fun action up in here. So this turns into a really complicated piece really fast. So let's start out with getting our big piece of photo etch on here. I think that's what we should do first. And then the one, obviously, that goes on top of this, because that's no big deal. Alright, well, the paint's drying on the photo etch decks that go in here. I did a little work here. Got our photo etch ladders installed on both sides, and then I did some scratch building up here. I looked at some photographs that I found online and found a handful of beams and some speakers in the front, and then of course a bunch of wiring that is in place. And so I don't know how much you're going to see of this, but I went ahead and put that together. So the idea being that when you drop this half down, we got to put the photo etch on our conning tower here, or the citadel. This is the edge, and we'll get focus. And as you can see, right now you can kind of look up in here, like horizontally, and in the photographs that I saw online along the citadel area, that's what I'm gonna call it, you could see the wiring run along and dip down just a little bit and a couple of beams. So, you know, we're gonna put photo etch windows in place here and then some glass, so it might be kind of hard to see behind there, but I want to put something in place there. So the next step is going to be to prime this up, get our deck piece on. We'll paint all this white, and then this piece. There's a metal deck that goes in here, and then we'll do a couple little. Well, I put like a chair and maybe a couple little items right along here, just in case there's some chance that you could look down in there and see something. It's nice to have some little gobbledygooks here and there. So let's make all that happen. All right, so this is the photo etch deck. It's all painted up, and here's our regular deck. What I did is I went ahead and painted along the inside here. So nothing too crazy. We're just gonna glop a bunch of CA glue down, basically along the edges. That's where I'm primarily concerned with. I already test fitted it. It fits really well. It's actually a very tight fit. And we're just going to do this and snug it into position. And move on with the next thing. Hopefully you saw all that. Just applied the glue. It fits so well. Actually need to make sure it kind of goes straight down. And I'm going to use this pencil to help get it all the way seated. There we go. Like so. And though, you know, you're going to have to touch up spots here and there. And that's it. Oh, got a little pencil eraser on that spot. Alright, that's it. That's what it looks like. All nice and set. So now we can put some of the details in up here on the forward part of the navigation bridge. So we'll have to scratch build. Alright, so we've painted up a bunch of stuff. We got our white paint installed here, and then now it's time, this is all set overnight, to put this deck on up here. So we're just literally going to glop some CA glue down. This piece is, you got to pay a little bit more closer attention to how it fits, because there is a hole right here in the middle, which is fantastic, but then you've got a bunch of other little details that need to line up, specifically that oval opening right there. And that should take care of it. Oh, I got a little glue up on top here. I'll wipe off. Looks like it's okay. We'll double check that fit here. And then you can see I painted this all white. So if by chance we see any of it through the windows, you know, there'll be some neat little detail there. So let's move on to the next little part. Alright, so working on the Citadel area, we put the Pontos photo etch parts in. Very nice. They have you cut off these pieces up here. Now, it is important to note, I had to do some test fitting. The tolerance for the photo etch deck here is very tight. I had to do some sanding and a lot of work to get this to just barely fit in there. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if I lose a little bit of paint if it scrapes off when I put it into place. So you do need to test fit this, whoops, and make sure that it will fit through here. The other issue is when you drop it down, because we noted that's so super tight, there's some slack in this thing. It moves around quite a bit. So we will be placing this together like so, dropping this in, and then gluing the Citadel into position. Let's peek down in there so you can see before we commit to everything here. As you can see, this is, you got all the little wiring and stuff, and you can look at the side. It's busy, it's nice. I think that's a nice effect. It's going to work should someone get up close like this and look into the windows. Now, if you look down, you can see down in there just a little bit. There is a handful. There's like a chair here and a chair here. There's a compass, maybe a couple little radios, and a little table that go right on this front area. So we're just going to whip up some styrene to make a little area right there that you could see, because like I said, from this angle looking down in there, you can make that out. From all the rest of these angles, I mean, you're not going to be able to really see up against that wall. So let's just make some stuff real quick up and yeah, show that. All right, here's my scratch built bridge area. Just before painting, I made some chairs, put some little boxes in. I know that there's a table here. I know there's a compass here, and just a few boxes just to add something so that when you look inside you can see things. These I think are wood. We'll paint them brown. These are more. I think these are red. I'm going to paint these British Crimson red. Those are like, they're the soft comfy chairs that you sit in, and so that the people can look out, and so you'll be able to see them through the bridge windows and there'll be something there. Fortunately these weren't too hard to make. It's just styrene. You know, if they were Air Force they'd be lazy boys, and those are a lot more involved, so this was really easy to throw together because kind of like lawn chair type of things. Alright, we're at a fairly critical juncture with several things that we need to talk about. So this is the bridge put together so far. I've gone ahead and painted everything up and slid it together what I can. You can see there it looks pretty nice. We have these walls in, and you probably can't see it. Oh, if I tip it there, maybe you can make out I do have windows installed there. What I did is I used transparencies sheets to do that. Those of you who went to school in the 90s know what that is. This is a transparency. You can get it at the local office store. It's super thin and really clear and to scale. So that's what I want to use for the windows that go around the front here. So let's talk about that. This is the Pontost photo etch. I've pre-bent it. I'm going to try and do this on camera here. It essentially goes into position basically like that. Alright. Now, because of the way I've assembled this thing, this needs to be pre-painted. So I'll do that off camera. I'll airbrush the whole thing. There are pieces that go on the face here. I'll do that as well once it's painted up and basically set up to go in. But I do want to have the windows in here. I realize that they're removable and they're open for when the main guns are being fired, but I wanted to put them in place so that you could kind of peek through and look inside there. So the plan is going to be to paint this up, flip it over here, glue in my transparency after the paint's done while trying to retain the shape, and then figuring out how to glue this into place. Now I want to point out one detail here. See this little lip right here that's sticking out? Here we have this piece of plastic. It is flush, and then the metal deck sticks out past it. Because we're adding the photo etch, really I need to fill this in, and you will need to do that as well. There needs to be something flush here. So I'm going to use some sheet styrene to plumb that up. That's kind of like my pro tip. And you can see along the front there, same thing. You've got the piece that sticks out, and then right here you've got a gap. So you need to fill that in. And then it gets installed. Before I do that, now that I'm at this point, now that this deck's installed and the citadel's in place, those photo etch windows that you see right down there, there's 5 that go up on top here, and a door that gets installed in the back. Now that this is in place, I can attach those. And this would be a good time to then also go ahead and mask off the deck and airbrush that into place. So that's where we're at. The only other thing I wanted to point out is right here, this is the running lights that a lot of people have been asking me about. And the kit provided part included basically this area and this. It did not have this little back shield. I went ahead and added that in myself, and then I'm just going to paint red in here and green on the opposite side over there to have the running lights in place. Yeah, and that's it. So this is starting to look pretty dang cool, but it's also starting to get really complicated. So let's get the photo etch on here next, paint up the glass, and I'll probably check in next with you all with that part put together. But those are the things you need to know. Oh boy, here we go. So I painted up the photo etch, and I very carefully installed my windows using transparencies. And I know someone's gonna ask, how did you put this on there? And I put on super glue, and then I taped the heck out of it in key places to make sure that it looks okay. Well, that it's gonna stay in place. Now I have trouble spots, particularly like this corner right here. Same thing on this side, where I actually had the photo etch, just from being bent and stacked up so thick, it actually snapped right here. So this ended up being a separate piece, and I kind of feel like in hindsight that might have been a good idea, just to put it together that way anyhow. You could see right here I had a little bit of flashing from the CA glue, fogged up the windows a little bit. I'm okay with that. Look, I know that they weren't always clean. They opened and closed for the firing of the guns, so they didn't blow up anyway. And you can kind of tell that something's going on there. So, and yeah, you don't need to do this. You can leave the glass off that I installed, and it'll be fine. But I wanted to do this. I wanted, it was a goal to have the windows in there, and so that's what I did. Let's see if we could zoom in here a little bit. There you go. You could see a little bit of the flashing along the bottom there, but it's not that bad. It's kind of a bummer that it's there, but you could still see through it inside, and really they just look like dirty windows that need to be cleaned up. So I'm okay with that. Next order of business, let this dry, make sure it's secure. We'll fill in the gaps, make sure that it's painted. I did get the little marker light right there painted red, and I did the green on the other side. But we need to tidy all of this up. So that's going to happen after the glue dries, and then we'll be able to press on with doing all the stuff up on the top. Alright, so we went ahead and pulled the tape off, and we got everything basically working the way that I guess I could say that we want it without too much trouble. There's going to be a bunch of touching up that needs to be done throughout the whole thing with the paint. This is one of those pieces where you could spend a whole lot of time monkeying around with things, and then as soon as you go to put it together, you're gonna chip some paint, or you're gonna lose a part, or something's gonna go on. So at this point, you just really want to get all of your pieces in place to where they're supposed to go. This next part here, these little gun directors go here. You can see there's a little circle there, and I went ahead and actually cut that off. It was on the bottom of this piece, because looking at the instructions, you could tell how the piece was supposed to sit in place like that. That's what you're looking for, but that's not how it ended up falling for some reason with the photo etch and the hole and everything. So I trimmed it off. We're just going to put some CA glue in place here to make sure we get everything in the proper location. The other advantage to doing it like this is we will get a good look at where everything needs to be touched up at as soon as we kind of get everything into position. Let's see here. Put a little more here and here. So this was a lot of fun. All of this is going together pretty nicely without too much trouble. We'll need to go back through and add a bunch of photo etch detail. that gets installed after the fact. Can't make quite everything work out of the gate. It would be nice to pre-paint everything and let it all fall into position, but that's just not always how it works out, and that's all right. Drop that in. Make sure it's straight. Looking good right there. And then we got a fun photo etch piece Pontos put together that goes up in the front here that we got just a little bit of paint on and touched up and put a little bit of detail on just so that it's ready to go. And as you can see during the airbrushing process, actually I need to touch up the top right there. So we'll come back through later with a brush, touch all of that up. It goes in position like so. Here we can go to our Tamiya paint, or sorry, Tamiya glue. So a photo etch detail by Pontos goes right up there. Let's see, better use CA glue for this next one. Just because I want it to have a pretty firm grip. Got one of your spotlights that go into place. This is again all kinds of fun reaching around the camera to show all this off. Sorry about the furnace kicking on, it's still a little cool outside. I do use CA accelerator. I like to put it on a brush because then I can control how I'm applying it. That worked out nicely. That'll be all right. Like so. And then let's see here. We'll always put big blotches of Tamiya extra thin up here. Get our gun director on there straight. Good. Alright, let's take another look at it. Okay, there we go. Looks good. We need to give all this stuff a moment to set up. We're not done yet though. Bunch of photo etch rails that go on here. There's a ladder that goes on there and a couple ladders that go up on the side right there. And then we need to touch up the paint and give everything a wash. So let's hit up those last details. Okay, here's the finished product for now. I've got all the little details on. I'm not going to point them all out. You guys could take a quick look and see basically all the railings are in place. All the little stairs are in place. The gun directors are in place. And I did a little bit of a wash on everything. The Mark 34, I think. Mark 37 gun directors installed on top. If you want to see how to put this thing together, or I talk about a lot more detail, that's in video 13. You can go back and check that out. But yeah, this is it. This is our bridge all together. I'm very pleased with how it's turned out. In particular, that you can see inside. We'll zoom in a little bit here. Bear with me. There we go. So you could see in there just a little bit through our windows. There's a little bit, and let's see here, of detail in there if you look just right. So that was worth the effort. And of course, looking head on, you could peek inside here. Obviously, the windows got dirty with a little bit of flashing from the fumes from the CA glue. That's a little bit of a bummer. If they had totally wiped out the windows so you couldn't see, I would have been forced to take it all apart and clean it up. But right now they just look dirty and scratched, and I understand the Navy would never let that fly, but I wasn't in the Navy. So we're gonna leave that be for right now. Otherwise, yeah, that's basically it. So the last thing is, especially because there's a lot of craziness going on in the world right now, and we need to enjoy YouTube and model building, I thought a little bit of a treat. Why don't we set this on the ship and everything that we've done up to this point and get a good look at the whole thing. Let's do that. Alright, here is the bridge installed. I'm going to try and do this all as smoothly as possible with the bulk of the superstructure on top. Let's just start out here. This is our bow area that you all seen in previous videos. A couple of our anti-aircraft guns that we're experimenting with. We still got to sort that whole situation out. Going to be building the veterans ones. Got our deck detail in place, or a lot of it anyway. Still got quite a ways to go here. Our quad anti-aircraft, or I'm sorry, not quad, but the 6 anti-aircraft gun positions. I did have a gentleman point out to me that these 2 whip antennas did not exist in World War II. The bases did, and that there was actually antenna that stretched across here, and then antennas going down to those 2 points. So I'm going to double check all that, and I may in the future remove those so that we might replace them with some wires instead. And this is the aft funnel. There's all of the antenna work that we did up there. And then of course the rear gun directors, the ship's bell, and the deck work that we've gotten done so far back here. All the way back here, 53 inches back. Let's see here. This is zoomed out all the way. It's been a while since I've tried to show the whole thing and get it all on the camera. It takes up a lot of space, as you can tell. But it does look really, really awesome. And there's a lot of detail going on here, and it looks good. Zoom in a little bit. So we're not done yet. We've got this whole little section in the middle, the forward funnel section. We got all of the guns to be assembled. We still got a lot of railing. The life raft's got to get all made up. We got to rig it. Yeah, there's a lot left to do here. Anyway, this is it so far. I hope everybody is doing well and staying healthy out there. And yeah, we'll check in with you again soon.